All in Sports Network. We love sports.
Coming to you from the land of brisket and barbecue, Lone Stars and Longhorns. It's All In Colts presented by the Unstable Blues.
Welcome back in. It's time to step into the Colts Corner as we discuss the offseason moves of the organization. This week, we'll look at the Colts in-house free agents, who should stay and who can go. So, let's go. All In Colts.
I'm Kevin. This is my son, Liam. We are the Unstable Blues, happy to present All In Colts as part of the Rogue Media Sports Network. You're back.
I am back.
I can no longer just walk into the next room after we're finished and see you. You haven't started classes just yet.
No, that is tomorrow.
Yep, here we go.
Back
semester
at it,
number 2.
Indeed, yes.
Yep.
Here are the Colts defensive coordinator candidates that we know so far. Lou Anarumo. I hope that's right.
Yep.
Steve Wilkes and Browns safety coach Ephraim Bonda.
Yep.
I think I pronounced that right.
Yep.
All come from a defensive secondary background.
Yep. Speaking of which, with the departure of Gus Bradley, secondary coach Ron Milas and linebackers coach Richard Smith will not be returning. They've been with Gus for a while, so no big shocker there. Obviously, the new defensive coordinator is probably going to want to bring in all his own people anyway.
Yeah. With the unsettledness of the GM position for the Colts and our own comedic pitch out there, we'll be tracking our potential moves compared to the Colts.
Yes, this is something we decided to do this year because of how things went with the GM position. And then the fact that we did this earlier, we decided, why not? We're literally going to keep track of all the differences between what we would have done versus what the Colts do and kind of see how that plays out. Obviously, there's, no way to really do this with any sort of really true scientific method. There's no control, obviously, variable. Because different players on different teams will do different things, but we'll do our best.
Yep.
Today, we will go through the Colts in-house free agents and identify who we think the Colts should keep and who they should let walk.
Yes, the team has already signed Tyler Goodson and Segun Alubi to 1-year deals. How do you feel about these?
I totally agree. I think a 1 year is good for these guys. I said since even before the season started that Tyler Goodson should have been the number 2, more fitting, more stylistically like JT. But we'll get into whether the Colts need to continue to bolster the running back position. They do. We did these in the order of salary expense. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take turns. How about let's take turns going back and forth, listing them, and the other one give their thoughts. It could it could literally be a simple yes, no. This may take 3 minutes. I don't know. I presume it will probably take longer than that, but all right. So you get the first one and the most expensive one at $12.5 million, making now. This is all now. Ryan Kelly.
I think you have to keep him. It's an expensive keep. I'd say I feel like it's more on the expensive end of linemen. But I think he's definitely worth it. He is a backup for the Pro Bowl. So I believe that has to say something. It was different whenever he wasn't in there. But at the same time, it was different whenever a lot of people weren't there because at the end of the year, we hardly had any starters in at line, actually. So when what does that say about coaching? Does he actually make that much of a difference? But I think strictly the fact that he's a Pro Bowler, technically speaking, then that has to say something. So I think Ryan Kelly we keep. I don't know about $12.5 million though. I think maybe a little bit less than that, because I think we kind of figured out this year that it's maybe not just him, and maybe it's just the offensive line coach of how good he is.
Yeah.
So maybe not as much, but I think we keep him.
I would not keep, but I think a lot of that has to do with money. Normally, you don't see players make less money as they get up there, unless they really get up there. Is Ryan Kelly going to want to come in and play a backup role and a teaching role, especially with the writing that may be on the wall in the organization? He may just want to bow out as well. Yeah.
Next one on the list is Mo Alley Cox. Right now, $5.85 million.
This is a tough one because if you ask me even 1 year ago, especially 2 years ago, I said nah. But Mo Alley Cox has actually been the most consistent in all phases this year.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing some of the others that may be deeper here, I'm going to say let's go ahead and keep Mo Alley Cox. Joe Flacco, $4.5 million.
No. We performed so much worse whenever he was in there. He is not viable for this offense, at least. I would say he's still a good quarterback, but just not for this offense, not for this high of a run-based offense. Like, if you look at it, the Bills are a rushing offense, as we saw in them against the Broncos. They just dominated the run game.
Yep.
But that only happens because Josh Allen can run too. The Eagles, Saquon Barkley, but Jalen Hurts can run too. The Ravens, Derrick Henry, but Lamar can run too. The best rushing teams have two people in the backfield that are threats on the run game. Hence why Jonathan Taylor can only necessarily get what he can get done against a better team. I say better because he had amazing games towards the end of the season against not as great teams.
Yep.
With Joe Flacco there. But against teams like the Jets or the Patriots, who have good defenses.
Yep.
It was just that much more to have AR back there. It just helps so much more. And on 4th and 1, you can quarterback run it. Joe Flacco, as we saw, cannot do that.
Nope. Can't even stick the ball out.
Yep. So I don't like keeping Joe Flacco there.
I agree.
EJ Speed, $4 million.
Tough one, but I don't think so. I think this is a Bobby Okereke. I think he did himself a lot of favors going somewhere else, but I think for the Colts, and some of this will have to do with the new defense coordinator and what scheme that they want to run and how much EJ is a part of that, a piece of that. Obviously, this has implications off the field as well, which many Colts fans may be excited about. That the Trenches podcast, he is half of it with Zaire. So if they don't have EJ anymore, then what happens to that podcast? They may be going remote like us. But I say no EJ Speed. You got Jalen Carlisle that you can bring up instead.
Okay.
Julian Blackmon was on a 1-year deal, got done at the wire this past year, 3.7.
This is a hard one too. I don't know. Like, there's so much. This depends on like the draft. Like Mo Alley, I'm like, okay, yeah, we can keep him. But if we get Warren, do we need Mo Alley?
But free agency happens before the draft.
Exactly. But then again, you could hold out for the person, and if they get picked up, then they get picked up. Then you know what you have to get in the draft, type of thing.
Which is what happened with Julian last year.
We'll get into the draft later, so I don't want to spoil anything for the draft. As of right now, I'm going to say Blackmon actually had a really important role on defense, so keep him.
All right. Softball, pitch me.
Yes. Ashton Doolin, $3.6 million.
You know me. I like Ashton a lot. To me, it's not just what he can do in the receiving game, which is incredible. It's
Let me
also
guess. Special teams.
It's also what he can do as a gunner. Not even necessarily his return game, although because that a lot of that's been dialed back because you could easily go, okay, well, Anthony Gould could do return duties and receiving duties, and he could do Ashton Doolin, but he doesn't have. He's not. I mean, at this point, unless he puts in a lot of weight work over the offseason, he doesn't have the sturdiness of Doolin.
Yeah.
And so what Doolin does on the outside on punt coverage is immeasurable to me. So I think you got to keep him.
Okay. Yep. I figured you were going to say that.
Reserve defensive tackle Taven Bryan.
Reserve defensive tackle. Our defensive front is already so stacked. I would be stupid to think that we don't get another defensive lineman, knowing Gus Bradley, although his press conference seemed convincing. Unlike past years.
Yeah.
It seemed more convincing, I guess.
I know.
So I'm going to say we don't need to keep Taven Bryan.
I agree. I think especially Taven Bryan even seemed confused early in the season why he was in there with Buck out injured after the Packers game. So I agree. And then
next we have Dio Odangbo, end of his rookie deal.
Yep. This is always the tricky part, end of a rookie deal. And there are several of them here. Dio, I think, has been at times even better than Quiddy. Quiddy picked up the 5th-year option for this year. They came in together. So Quiddy drafted before, so picked up the 5th-year option for this year. Dio, I think still is a sign. The question is if the new defensive coordinator thinks that Latu replaces Dio entirely, or if he replaces Quiddy, and therefore you need to keep Dio to be himself. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like you got 3 people vying for 2 positions, and whoever the defensive coordinator believes are the 2, you might be left with Quiddy as the odd man out, but you already picked up the 5th-year option. So you have to do both in the meantime. Yeah. So that's a toss-up for me. I'm gonna leave that as a toss-up, and that's up to the DC.
Okay.
All right. Next up, Danny Pinter. Picked him up, I think, on a 1-year or a 2-year deal, something like that. So he's at the end of that.
Love Danny Pinter, but I don't think we need him, especially if we pick up Ryan Kelly. I don't think it's needed.
He didn't perform nearly as well. They brought in Glowinski off of the couch because Pinter was not doing so hot.
Mm-hmm.
And then
we have Trey Sermon.
Nope, don't need him.
I like it.
Moving on.
Agree in there.
Kylan Granson at the end of his rookie deal.
If you keep Mo, you don't need Kylan. Love Kylan. Don't think you need him, though. He doesn't do enough other than a 20-yard reception every now and then.
Yeah. He doesn't have the blocking capability, and he's not as productive as you would want from a what do they call that? Like a
receiving tight end,
Y tight end, something like that. That your typical receiving tight end. So
Sorry, I was drinking water.
That's all right.
Next up,
You got to keep it
Sam.
moist.
Yes, Sam Ellinger.
At the end of his rookie deal, I think we've seen everything that Sam can do. I think the only thing that saves Sam is if Anthony Richardson still wants him around because of how much Sam helped him off the field during his benching. I think that's the only thing that saves Sam. To me, this is one of the decisions that we will get to see early on how committed Chris Ballard is to his words in his end of the year press conference of making hard decisions for the best interest of the team. Yeah. Because to me, Sam Ellinger has nothing to offer on the field. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't have things to offer off the field. But to me, if you can't produce anything on the field, then you don't serve a purpose for my football team.
Agreed.
No matter how much of a good character you are, right? Which we will get into, I promise.
Yeah.
So for me, Sam is a no. You got any
rebuttal there? I think I would agree there.
All right. Coming off a season-ending injury at the end of his rookie deal, he was playing lights out last season, and then up for up a few games or less than a game, something like that. Will Fries.
I like him. I think he needs to stay on the team.
I would agree. I think that his absence was probably felt more than we could ever imagine on that offensive line. People say that guards are not nearly as important as tackles. It really is when you are a run-first team.
Run first to the inside, and you also use pulling guards. There are so much guards that go into this offense, which is why our best offensive linemen need to be the guards.
Right.
And I think once Fries and Q is in there, I think definitely our best linemen are the guards.
Yeah, you're not looking for just a fat guy to take up space at guard. You're looking for a guy who can pull, who can get from this side to that side, who can get out on the edge, who can get to the second level, who can scare the bejesus out of some safeties.
Oh, yeah. Next up, Grant Stewart.
I think you know where my head is at on this one. If you listen to our podcast hardly at all, you should know where my head is at. A few weeks ago, Pat McAfee was going off about the Colts, and he listed off 5 quick people to keep on the team and said, get rid of the rest of them. So we put it out to the socials and what 5 you would keep. This guy kept coming up. He's definitely on my list because, as I said, I want guys who are character guys who will play through the whistle every single time without fail, and that is Grant Stewart.
Yeah,
so
I completely agree.
Definite keep to me. As we identified after the Miami game, as even Shane Steichen answered our question. You want all your guys to play like this guy, and for your organization to then put him out into space doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
keep him in.
Yep.
Trevor Denbo coming off of an injury, safety, mostly a special teamer, undrafted guy out of SMU at the end of his rookie deal. Incidentally, I believe he was one of my first in our podcast ever when we did the undrafted free agent
I think it was,
outlook.
I think it
was one of my first picks.
I think we let him go. I think I haven't seen enough development out of him through his first couple of years. I think there's a guy who I am heavily eyeing in the draft we'll talk about once again later. And that is the guy who, top of my board. He kind of fills that spot type of thing too. So
I hear you. I get you. Toss up, I guess. I'm torn because he's kind of my guy, but once again, can't be too.
don't be a Ballard.
I know. I know. Okay. Another rookie deal ender. The other half of our favorite duo, Wesley French of the center guard team known as French Fries.
Yes.
You're supposed to set that up because I was supposed to do this.
Wesley French, who is
Yes.
the last guy that we're talking about.
Yes, I say you keep him. Once again, I think that without Kelly and Wesley French, it was a tough sled. Obviously, did great. Bortolini did great. Little shout out to him.
Gauntlet as they march it right down Pittsburgh's throat.
Wasn't the last time we used him.
It wasn't.
Last episode.
It can't be. Like, our socials are still blowing up from the Steelers fans just out over because I've been telling them the whole time that they have a decision to make, and they keep wanting to bring up, well, they're in the playoffs. Well, now they're out of the playoffs, and now an article just came out about how they've been putting off this decision about Russ and Justin, and now the decision has to be made. And
I'm gonna make it for them Steelers fans. If you want to listen, here's my decision for you.
All right,
get rid of Russ. Make Justin Fields a starter. He's younger. He played well whenever he was in. While you're at it, fired Mike Tomlin.
But the Steelers don't do that.
Mediocrity.
Great coaches.
Mediocrity. If you want to go win a Super Bowl, you cannot have Mike Tomlin as your coach. He's done it enough already. He don't have any more for the Steelers. Sorry.
But the Colts are a mediocre organization too, is what they'll say.
Okay. And we're not talking about the Colts right now. We're a Colts podcast. Okay. I accept. The Colts have been mediocre the past years. It's fine. I accept that. You guys don't want to accept it because somehow you get into the playoffs. If you're in the playoffs, does not mean you are a top 14 team. If you have a 9-8 record or 10-7, you are mediocre. 10-7 is on the better side.
He said it. And I say it, but he said it.
I don't dislike the Steelers either.
Ready? You ready? They keep saying that Justin Fields is better than Anthony Richardson.
He's more developed. If you want to let him go, let us pick him up. Hey.
That's what I said. I said let him go, and the Colts will find out who's better. But here's the deal. You ready? Better yet, do what you said. Keep Justin Fields, because you know who plays next year? And the Steels. Let's go.
They play again?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. How many years in a row is it going to be that we have to beat them?
If they finish in the second place and the Colts finish in the second place, it is most likely to play.
It's true. How many years in a row do we have to beat them? Like,
it's been two now.
Yep. And the funny thing is, so we'll have these conversations where, so I'm friends with, oh my goodness, my eye. I'm friends with a Chiefs fan, Isaiah, and I'm friends with his dad, who's a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
And they're talking all this stuff to me. I'm like, hey, as long as I've been a true Colts fan, my team has owned both of your teams. So.
So true.
Yes.
So true.
And don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the Steelers at all. He's the one that dislikes the Steelers.
I don't like them.
I don't have a reason to. Patriots. Don't like the Patriots.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Yes.
And right now the Jaguars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't like Jacksonville at all.
No.
Been there.
Especially
Don't like
in
it.
Jacksonville. Yeah.
Yeah.
To round off the free agents, we talked about them at the beginning. Tyler Goodson and Segun Alumbi just finished their rookie deal. They were both signed to a 1-year deal.
Yep. So we have marked all that down. We will keep track of that as those deals are closed or let go, those players along the way. But that's it for today.
Yep.
We will be back tomorrow with our recaps of some of the playoff games, the Chargers, Houston, and the Packers and Eagles. And later this week, we'll have a brand new unstable pick for predictions of our divisional round and finish off the week with our preview of 2 other games for the playoffs.
Yep. This is Liam.
And this is Kevin.
Reminding you to stay all in Colts.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.